Hello, today I'm going to be showing you an exercise called sitting knee pillow squeezes. For sitting knee pillow squeezes, all you need is a chair and a block or something about 6 inches that you can put between your knees. You're going to want to sit down, and the first step is to line up your ankles, your knees in line with your hips. So you just want to make sure that your hips are in line with your knees. So if your chair is too low or too high, you want to first make that adjustment. And then second, you want to make sure that your ankle is directly beneath your knee joint. Now, I cannot tell you how many times I see people miss this step, and it has an impact on the effectiveness of the exercise. So when you're sitting, what I want you to do is look forward, and if you can just barely see your toes right out in front of your knees, that's a good way to measure to make sure that that ankle bone is directly beneath the center of the knee joint, which is what we want. So now once you're all lined up in that position, you're going to take your block or your object, whatever you're using, and you're going to place it between your knees. And just double check your feet to make sure that the outer edges of your feet are still straight and that your feet are still aligned with your knees and your hips. So now you're ready to start the exercise. You'll want to relax your arms at your sides, or you can place your palms up in your lap, either one. The intention is to just allow your shoulders to relax and make sure that your shoulder joint is staying directly aligned on top of your knee joint. So now from here, the key step to this exercise is going to be placing an arch in your lower back by tilting your pelvis forward. You're going to want to maintain that pelvic tilt, keeping your stomach muscles relaxed, and press and release against the block. Now I'm going to show you the tempo of what you want to do with the press and release. So you want to go ahead and press, hold for 1 second, and slowly release. Again, press, hold for 1 second, and slowly release. So now the biggest mistake that people make with the tempo is they press, release, press, release, press, release. So don't make that mistake. Make sure that you're pressing in for a count of 1, holding it for a count of 1, and then releasing for a count of 1. So we have 3 phases to this exercise: press, hold, and release. And we want to make sure that we emphasize each phase. Now, you should be feeling this exercise in your inner thigh muscles. The goal is for you to feel it equally from right to left. So as you do this, press, hold, release, take note, mental note, if you are feeling it more on one side or the other. And a good way to tell if your body is uneven as you're doing this is to look down at your object and to see if it's tending to go over to one side. So if you do notice that, bring your object back to the center and try to keep that object right in the center of your body as you press and release. So the full sets and reps for sitting knee pillow squeezes is 3 sets of 20 reps. Now, a lot of people ask me if that means that they need to do 20 and then rest, and 20 and then rest. So yes, I do recommend that you do 20 reps and that you stop and rest for about 10 seconds, maybe even a little bit less. Just give those hip muscles an opportunity to relax for a moment. Reposition your object. Once again, place that arch in your lower back, allowing the stomach muscles to relax, and then begin your second set and continue to go like that for a total of 3 sets of 20 reps. So I want to take a moment to think and see if there's anything that I've left out about this exercise. It's a very simple exercise, but it is definitely possible to get some things incorrect. So let's go over some of those biggest mistakes that you're going to want to avoid. I've already mentioned some of them. One thing I didn't mention yet that I want to make sure that you know is that when you place the arch in your lower back, you want to make sure that the arch is coming from the pelvis. So what you want to avoid, and I see a lot of people doing this, is lifting the chest or really hyperextending the spine in order to try to get that arch in the lower back. So we don't want to do that. What we do want to do is to find that pelvic girdle just right there in the center of the body. And if it helps for you, you can actually put your hands on your pelvis, just like I'm showing you here. And then see if you can feel that bony structure actually tilting forward. Okay? And then it might even help to practice undoing that tilt and even going to the reverse, tilting back, for the sake of finding the pelvis and kind of getting used to that pelvic movement that a lot of us don't really do very often. And once you start to get the hang of that pelvic tilt, see if you can, from your pelvis, tilt your pelvis forward. Okay, find that forward tilt so that the pelvis, or I should say the muscles in and around the pelvic structure, are actually causing the lower back to gently extend or arch a little bit more than where it might normally be. Now you want to hold that pelvic tilt and maintain that arch in the lower back, and then make sure that you're relaxing the stomach. Now here's an interesting thing. A lot of us don't realize, myself included, that we're holding tension in our stomach muscles and our abdominal muscles. And this is something that subconsciously happens when we sit. A lot of times our abdominal muscles become shortened and tense. And even when we don't breathe or when we don't breathe properly, our abdominal muscles can become tense and dysfunctional. So once we get into that pelvic tilt, consciously taking a moment to take a deep breath, just allow that stomach to relax. And making a conscious effort to do that is going to help you in this exercise, because if we are holding tension, whether it's conscious or unconscious, in our abdominal muscles, this is going to inhibit or impede the muscles of our hips that we want to access or activate during the sitting knee pillow squeezes. So once again, just to review, you're going to want to make sure that you tilt the pelvis forward to create the arch in the lower back. Make sure that you're consciously relaxing the stomach. And then finally, the last thing that I want to reiterate here is the tempo. Once again, press, hold, and release. And then another thing that just came to mind is I see this happen really often when people get into the correct setup for the exercise. We start to do the presses and releases, and then we quickly lose that pelvic extension. And the reason why that happens is because our hip muscles are actually weak and not really used to holding our pelvis in extension because of how much we sit and because of how much we slouch back into our couches and our car seats and our chairs and the airplane seats and whatever it might be. So what I want you to do is to be aware of this when you tilt your pelvis forward and begin your exercise. Make sure that you're looking and checking to see that you are maintaining that pelvic tilt and that arch in your lower back. And that's part of the reason why I want you to break this up into 3 sets of 20, because it can actually require a lot of strength to maintain that pelvic tilt and maintain the relaxed abdominals and to press and release for a full 20 repetitions. At that point, a lot of us start to become fatigued, and that's a good time to relax out of it and then get back into it again and start again. Finally, another thing that just came to mind is head position. I can't tell you how often I'm with a client doing this exercise or even a lot of other exercises, and we're looking up and over off to the side, or not really aware of the position of our head and neck. And I think it's important to keep in mind that even though this exercise is directly targeting the muscles of our hips, we do want a secondary effect or positive benefit of this exercise to help us to maintain a better upper body, shoulder, and neck and head position. So what that means is that when you're doing this exercise, you want to look straight ahead. See if you can find something that's in front of you, right in the center of your line of sight. And make sure that your chin is staying neutral to the floor. So what that means is that you're not looking down and that you're also not tilting your head up and back. And make sure that you're not rotating and looking off to one side or the other. So you do want to be looking straight ahead, keeping that head and neck nice and neutral and relaxed. So once again, sitting knee pillow squeezes. I hope you found this beneficial. Feel free to post any comments below if you do have any questions. And then if you could, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. See you again soon.